Okay, that was great. We're going to move on. Next panel is on Italian excellence. We know Italy has great creativity. There's fantastic businesses. It's a little more challenging. I mean, it's a lot more challenging building startup technologies here for many reasons than it is in the United States. But we've got some successful entrepreneurs that are coming up onto the stage to talk about how they've done it, what challenges they've dealt with, and what advice they have for all of you. I'm very excited to introduce you Giulio Corno, president from Triboo, Triboo Media and Triboo.
Everybody get up.
Is he out there? He's coming in. Look at all this music and Giulio. There he is. Oh, everybody's coming out. Okay, and Andrea and Alberto. They're all coming out together. Have a seat, guys. Thank you very much. Hey, pick a chair wherever you want. Okay. So very casual. We're going to talk about Italian excellence. What does Italian excellence mean to you?
I really don't know what Italian excellence. I know what I do in life. And, I started my company, Triboo, which is a fast-growing technology company in Italy. We got in the Deloitte 500, but this is a good news for us. But it's the bad news that we are the only Italian company in EMEA. If you take digital, technologies, and energy, we are the only one as far with the concept of growth. It's we are the only one classified in the top 500. So I don't know if quantity is excellent.
So that's excellent. So
I
tell
don't
us a
know.
little bit about...
It's one way to look at the
Sure.
picture is growth. I mean, the financial
Tell us a little bit
market.
about the business.
Well, the business, we have two main business. One is the one that we went public with 2 months ago. We have an advertising network. We aggregate 200,000 sites, and we sell advertising only in the digital field and mobile with a performance attitude. So instead of all the old editor or the native digital editor, they still sell advertising in the same way they are selling. They used to sell old media like TV or newspaper. We get only paid if we provide for a result. So for a loan or for an insurance policy or for if automotive, we bring people to do a drive test for a new model that Volkswagen is coming in. And the other company, this is a small one that we went public last year. The group was founded 5 years ago. And we are now ranking number 5 among the digital editors in 5 years. And excellent growth results. We passed from 1 million to 21 million in 4 years with 2.5 net profit after taxes. And we went public. The project there is we raise money, raise 27 million euros, and we're investing them because we want to double. Because you cannot stay small. And we try to expand with our own financial resources, and we were beaten by large industrial groups that would always come before us for an acquisition. So we decided to go public with increase in capital was the right way to do. With the other company, which is larger, we are followers of UX. And so we actually outsource. We are outsourcers, full outsourcers for large companies like Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini, Benetton.
Okay.
And we manage their e-commerce business worldwide.
Fantastic. Andrea, tell us a little bit about Italian Indipendenti.
Italian Independent is a group, a company that was formed from a white piece of paper back in 2007.
Do you have that piece of paper with you? Can
Yes,
you show us?
of course.
Always
with me.
You carry it really close. Good.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And, as you asked, what's for me Italian excellency is being able to create something, to produce something where Italy still have something, a real added value. Our core business is eyewear. 80% of our revenues comes from eyewear. We've been exposed to a fast growth in the past, couple of years, especially, and we're now selling our products in more than 70 countries. I would say that, if there's a word that can characterize our group, it's innovation. Innovation in terms of business model. In fact, in our industry, eyewear, usually it's a business that is done through license. And the biggest company in the world is an Italian company, and this company is Luxottica. And they have a lot of brands that they manage. Instead, our business model is based on our eyewear. So we build the business on eyewear, and around eyewear, we also sell other products, what we call lifestyle products, that helps us to be known as a brand at 360 degrees. The other innovation that helped us to grow in these tough times in Italy now was the fact that the product, what we are selling, is something unique, distinctive in terms of materials that we use. Usually are materials that comes from other industries. Particularly, we brought some material for which we are, I would say, well known today, that is velvet effect from the automotive industry to the eyewear industry. And so we are selling an emotion at the right price.
What was on the white piece of paper, and where were you writing it?
Well, first thing, we spent a lot of time thinking about a name. We are probably the only brand that has in its own brand the name of our country, because we really believe in what this country can do. But we believe in things where Italy has, we believe in a made in Italy, where made in Italy has an added value.
But where were you writing that piece of paper?
That we wanted
was that
to
your
have
home, or was it where? Dove?
In New York.
You were in New York,
Yes.
writing it about an Italian company.
Absolutely,
Perfect.
yes.
I love that. Alberto, tell us a quick story of what you guys do and why.
Well, I must admit that we didn't invent much at the time we founded Facile.it, because it's actually a business model, insurance comparison and financial instrument comparison that's successful in many places of the world. So our story is a story of great execution, of a proven business model. I enjoyed a lot listening at the presentation before this one, the story about hiring top people and doing that as soon as possible, because that's probably the number one success factor for Facile.it. That's what we've been actually doing since the very, very beginning, putting together a bunch of great and very motivated people, building up the company from scratch.
That's great. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience, a lot of people wanting to build businesses, and we've all had success and failures of different levels and probably learned from those challenges. So if you look back in any of these companies, you've got multiple companies, but look back since you started, what was the biggest challenge that you had, and how did you solve it?
If you want, I can start, because we were building an eyewear company with none of us having a clue about eyewear.
Yeah, that's a problem.
This was a big challenge.
So why did you choose eyewear if you didn't?
Well, the idea at the beginning was to create a brand. But after our analysis and our homework on our white piece of paper, we realized that doing clothes, apparel was too tough. The market was already very saturated, and so we decided to go, in a different way, innovating and building a company on eyewear. And so what we did, we started, learning and studying about eyewear, and step by step, we hired very, expert people coming from the field, coming from the industry. And I would say that, the fact that at the beginning was probably our biggest challenge, the fact that none of us was from eyewear, became our biggest, asset.
Advantage.
Because, we took a look of this industry that is a fantastic industry, where Italy has a complete leadership. It's probably one of the few industries where Italy still has a complete leadership from a different angle. So looking at this industry from a different angle helped us a lot to build what we built.
Okay, great. Who wants to go next?
Well, I can say that the toughest challenges definitely not come from competition. What I've noticed is that the biggest difficulties have been from within the company, from within what happens within the organization. Competition was never too much of a threat. One of the most difficult moments was when I really realized I couldn't hire a good CFO for the company. I had to fire 2 times the CFO before finally managing to hire the right
You had
person.
to fight, or you had to
Fire
two
yeah, twice.
CFOs
Fight
before
and
you
fire.
find this fire, fight and then fire.
Exactly.
And so the third one is
The
the one
third
that was
one
the
was
work.
finally the right person, but that really happened because I should have learned that I should have come to this conference before, because I would have probably learned that it's certainly easier to say than to do. You need to hire people that are different than you. And every time I was trying to put together the team, I love to surround myself with people that had the same attitude towards doing stuff as fast as possible, being really in love with the product. Whereas very often the person who's in charge of finance needs to have a very different attitude from what the entrepreneur
So
has to have.
each time that the first CFO you thought was the right one.
Exactly.
And how did you
Because he
figure
was
out-
very similar to me. And that was the
because he
problem.
was similar
The
to you.
final one, he's a very boring person, but he's great in numbers.
And the second was similar to you as well?
Exactly.
So you did it twice.
I
You
did it
put
twice.
yourself in the fire twice.
I'm tough. I'm learning from mistakes. Should be faster at that.
Okay. All right. We learn.
Well, in my field, in the internet, in Italy it's relatively new. We are always behind. So in a way, there are no models in Italy that can inspire you. I'm saying a lie, because we imitated Mr. Marchetti with Hughes, with the largest firm. But in the digital advertising, it was really innovative to build up an ad network and to monitor the behavior. You know, we are really an aggregator, and we base our success on technology. So everybody thinks we are a sales agency, that we sell advertising, but in real terms, we're really trying to optimize what the internet is all about. Internet is a net, so we are providing 2,000 sites with technology that allows small editors to compete against large editors with a lot of financial means, a lot of resources, huge staff of journalists. And, so the struggle was to manage growth with an innovative model without having a benchmark, someone to refer to. And in the Italian market, which is in which the financial means are really difficult to find. So you have to have a positive P&L from day one, unless you are, happy enough to find investors on day one. So, to self-fund all of our initiative was the tougher thing to.
So you self-funded all of them
Yeah,
until
we
they got to a
self-funded,
certain
yeah.
level.
Yeah, the fact
And
that
self-funding. So which business was the main business that funded the others?
We went reverse, because in e-commerce you make less money, but you have a positive net working capital. So we use the means of the receipt, the holding company used the cash that was generating for the low profit activity to sponsor the growth of the high profit activity, which had problems with net working capital.
But it's an interesting question
to
about funding
compensate.
versus not funding. So did you choose not to raise capital in the beginning because you couldn't, or that you didn't want to?
We tried, but Italy at the time was perceived by international investors. Italian investors are not really well known for, the system is based on debt. So either you have friends in the bank, and there are many cases in which banks in Italy funded completely irrational or negative ventures, or you're a large group, so they give you money if you're already larger. But if you go around the world, Italy was perceived like a very slow-moving with a political problem. And there was a lot of stress towards China or towards Brazil, Venezuela. Right now, what our hope now is that even with this new government, which is at least young, people have a hope. And I see that from my perspective, when we went for the roadshow, we raised over 50% of our investors are international investors. So people from abroad, they start to perceive Italy and digital in Italy, which is quite rare, as something to
invest in.
to invest
So
in.
the roadshow for going public, you mean?
That was the only way to do it.
That's the only way to do it. Andrea, so tell me a little bit on the early days. So how did you went from the white piece of paper to funding, or to prototyping, or to what was the early days, and how did you get the company started?
Well, by the way, we are also public since last June.
Great.
So we also took this brave decision to go public at an early stage. We have to step it back and tell you for a second, the company was born in a very tough time, because we funded the company back in 2007. The economy was at a peak, but then we all know what happened in 2008 with Lehman Brothers, and now the whole economy collapsed, and especially what the credit crunch was something that we have to face. And so, getting money from banks was becoming something impossible because all in a sudden banks were becoming very strict in giving money, but also because we have a cultural problem in Italy is that startups are not, in my opinion, funded enough. So there's not enough capital usually when you start a company. That we have a lot of great ideas in Italy, but we have to think that behind great ideas, then you have to build a company. And since mistakes are at stake, I mean, you do mistakes at the beginning. It's not, you don't, immediately take off. So you need money also to fund your mistakes. And generally speaking, Italian startups, they have no money. And, until the banks were giving, money to companies was fine. But then back in 2008, they stopped. And so we had a problem in getting money. We were already becoming, profitable, but still was a long process in order to go sit with banks and.
How much was revenue when you were profitable? Is that for 10 people or 100 people or 200 people? I mean,
what do you mean?
How
many people we were when we became profitable?
Just roughly for costs.
I mean, 10, 15.
Okay, so still a small company.
Very, very small.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, we became profitable at around 7 million euros.
That's great. So just giving everybody a perspective of, profitable could be 1,000 employees, profitable could be 5 employees, and getting there, especially with a challenging funding environment, is a great way to control your business.
The problem we're facing here is that when you're a small business, bureaucracy we have a huge amount of bureaucracy to deal with. And to deal with banks, you don't have rules and you don't have a timing. So you have to run your business and then you have to talk with banks, and you never know when you will get money and eventually if you will get money. And if they say no, even if you're making money, you can eventually collapse. So, we didn't have many options. The options were, at the end of the day, 3 options. One, shareholders to put money on the table, but we're already committed our entire life to this business, and we committed approximately 2 million euros. Banks was tough. Private equity for us was a little difficult. I have a very well-known partner and co-founder that is Lapo Elkan, very well known in this country, able to generate a lot of press. So getting a private equity with a 27% stake, that is what we put on the market, was something that in a way or another would have made us lose our independence. And we are Italian independent because also we want to be independent from, private equity funds, banks, stereotypes, institutions. So we took that it was a good idea and a good sign to give to small, medium-sized companies, that a good alternative today for Italian companies that have important growth perspective is to go public. Because to go public is not something easy. Sometimes now people see that we did it, so they think, it's very easy. They did it, we can do it too. I'm not saying that it's very tough, but it's something that you have to think about at least twice, and you need to know that your company will grow really fast. So we did all this, and we are very happy with our choice.
Fantastic. Okay, moving on. Alberto, talk to us a little bit about
the early days.
The early days.
Well, it was a lot of fun. No, honestly, we were fortunate enough because we raised a decent amount of capital. It was was close to 3 million at the very beginning of the company. It was back October 2008, and so that made our
October 2008.
Yeah, but probably the most difficult moment
during the worst
all time
economy in the world.
To raise money.
How the hell did you do that?
We're.
Who do you know? Where?
No, it was tough. We spoke to probably 30 different people, 30 potential angels and investors, and we raised capital from about half of them. None of them put too much money into it, and they were all like angels.
What was your pitch?
Well, the fact that the business model was proven elsewhere helped a lot. The fact that the management team had a decent track record. Although in international companies, none of us had ever managed a startup from scratch. But the fact that the business model was proven, that there was a clear opportunity in Italy to replicate that helped a lot.
So you were minimizing risk on several of the things. The main risk was still the team and the execution.
Yeah,
but everything else was validated. The
execution.
business was validated. Similar to the glass, eyewear business. It's validated business because there was a big Italian, company already doing it. Absolutely. So there's a similar trends as well. And you're doing businesses that are like Ukes and others that exist, but you're doing it better or differently.
No, better, no, I didn't say that. I never said that.
Okay, differently.
We're trying to, we're followers.
Okay, but you're executing well, and building well, which is great.
There are some advantages in following. I mean, to be too innovative many times, it brings you to failure. And failure in Italy, which is another concept, is not accepted. If you go in Palo Alto and you fail, funds, venture capitalists will eventually fund you they will be easy in funding you a second time, because if you fail, and I mean, unless you have, if there's no fraud.
Yeah, as long as you don't
get
fail.
Experience.
As long as you don't fail 3 and 4 times, because that's a negative trend.
Sure.
But once is okay.
We don't have this chance in Italy, and I wasn't lucky enough to find 3 million, so we started everything with 10,000 euros, but with the right people. So with the company when they went public was founded by. When I met him, he was 22, and he started his own small company when he was 14. And so he should be here to talk about the story. I was just an investor at the time. The company was very small, and it was good synergy.
So you started as an investor in the company.
I started in the media company. I bought a company was already billing 800,000 euros.
Okay.
But I bought it for zero, just because I was an editor, and I went to, I used sales agencies, like large sales agencies like Mondadori or Dada. They didn't sell enough, and they didn't know what performance was all about. So when I found this guy, I said, okay, let's put together our, my editorial properties with your sales agency, and let's try to do something, and it worked. And the same thing worked for the e-commerce. We merged that. I started, in real terms, I'm managing the company since 5 years, but I have properties in the internet. I was collecting domains and having properties in the e-commerce since 2001. Then in life, you always try, you have always to try to see what happens. And there was this fear of Amazon that would eventually come. And I was selling, my site would sell, I was not managing it, but I had a site which would sell DVD online. And so when Amazon came the first time in 2005, they selected my company, to make the startup. They wanted to acquire me. Then, they looked at the market a little bit more and they said, oh, it's very small. We better go to China before. So they went to China, and I went to all my competitors. And I say, guys, we have to merge because they're coming in. They're just postponing investment decision. They will come in 2 years, and they will beat all of us. We will go all bankrupt. And none of them. I talked with 7 competitors of mine. All of them thought they were Bezos. I mean, they were Amazon, and they would compete. They would have, and there are still some people trying. But if you look at the P&L now, they're all losing money after 2 years. Amazon is here because these giants are large. So we decided we would change the model. We should get license of well-known brands, which are much more protected. So we exploit the awareness, the brand awareness of our customers. And we manage with no entrepreneurial risk because we have all the merchandising consignment. And in internet, if you do e-commerce, you don't have credits over customers. So it's a way of acting more as a consulting company, even though we are paid on a performance base. So it's a smarter model. Marchetti was doing it with Diesel, with Armani. Is vertical in the fashion. We went in the automotive, and so now we are launching 20 new stores every year.
That's great. So building companies is an emotional roller coaster, right? Ups and downs from day one. What do you love? Very succinct answers. What do you love about what you do, and what do you hate about what you do?
Well, I think you definitely and absolutely need to learn to get a little bit detached from the roller coaster. Otherwise, you go crazy. It's a little bit too much.
So how do you get detached from the roller coaster?
Well, it takes a lot of, let's say, concentration and learning from previous frustrations. But I wasn't too good at that. It was something that came with time after a lot of frustration with the... And also, it's probably one good piece of advice is don't get too excited when things go well, and really try to average out the peaks and the downs of
Okay, so what is it that you love and hate? That's a suggestion. So I'm going to go back to the question. What do you love and what do you hate? Remember, as a New Yorker asking the 8 questions here, I'm very direct.
Probably one of the moments I loved the best was having a big UK competitor leaving the country and shutting down Italian operations. It was, we took that fight very personally. I mean, these were the big guys from London coming in with a lot of money, and we were the small local player worth less than a tenth what they were worth. And, it really took us all we had to get them out of the country. That was probably one of the top moments in the Facile.it experience.
Okay, and what do you hate?
Moments I hated, losing control of what happens in the company. There was also
how did you lose control of what happens in the company?
Because it got too big. And that's necessary. It's obvious that there is a moment when you cannot know everything that happens throughout the company.
So how did you become comfortable with that after you hated that?
I just survived. I still don't know if I'm comfortable with it.
You're not comfortable yet?
It happens, so you have to live with it.
Okay, good.
Well, what I love the fact that, at the end of the day, we're selling emotions. So it's a lot of energy all the time. And every time I see someone, wearing our glasses or our products, it's a lot of energy. What I hate is the fact that, in my position as a co-founder and the CEO of the company, the only thing I have to deal with every day is with bad news. I don't care about good news. So my job is mainly to solve problems. So I'm always, dealing with problems. Mm-hmm. And I would also like sometimes to be on the part of, enjoying more what we're doing. But, the growth that we experience is a growth that where, on a daily basis, I have to think about things that do not work.
So on the problem side, what's the best way to solve problems for an entrepreneur?
First of all, to have good people with you is the basic thing that everybody says, so I think it's a good one. And number 2 is to be able to have a good communication with those people, because people together, it's not me solving a problem, it's to being able then to put it together a table, and the table is able to solve the problem. Right. So with the people smarter than you or stronger than you, you can be in a down, they are in a up, but you always balance and you always find a solution.
And it makes a lot of sense. When I was running a company, I would always love, people would come to you with problems every single day, or many times a day. But I would say, don't come unless you have 3 suggestions of it as a solution. This is the most expensive but the best. This is okay in the middle. This is the cheapest, and we can wait for a while, whatever that is.
And this is very important when a company is growing.
Yeah.
So, you have to teach people that they have to come to you every time they have a problem, and also with solution, because then it becomes a debate. Otherwise, it's basically putting at the Italian style the problem on the table of the one that is called the CEO, and the problem of Italian CEO that I want to fall into that category is the fact that Italian founder and CEO, they do anything in a company, from marketing to communication to sales to advertising. They know anything about the business, while you need to have the people that are specialized for every single part of your business, and then put them together and solve the problems.
That's right. What's what do you love and what do you hate?
No, I understand what you were saying about control, because I'm a pilot since I was since the age of 15. So
a plane.
Pilot. I was doing aerobatic flight all my life, and so I should love control. In real terms, I hate control.
Oh, really?
I hate control and complex organization. So I wanted to create, my company name is Triboo. I wanted to create a destructured organization, based only on energy. Unfortunately, now we have a dimension in which, this casual way of management, this structure was not possible anymore, so we had to organize ourselves. So since I hate complex organization, what I did, I selected 2 CEOs, and I'm not managing the day-to-day life. So I'm just looking at the future solution, or like he does. If they have a problem, I can support them. But what I love is future. So my role there is just to understand if we're going the right way.
So when you say future, it's thinking about future products.
Yeah, I don't want to manage. I mean, I think I'm old. I'm over 50 now, and the average age of my company is 29. So I think that when you're young, you're eager to manage. You want to be in control. Is young. After 50, it's like when I was 50, I decided my daughter obliged me to stop doing aerobatic flying, Because he said, Dad, I mean, enough game now, and your reflexes are not going to be the same.
Have you stopped?
But you might.
You're still doing it?
Yeah, I stopped. I only fly straight.
You only fly straight now?
Yeah. So, well, with my company, I had to do aerobatic as well. There are some similarities, but again, control is not something smart. It's like there's a good joke I can tell you. If you have 4 employees in a company, and 2 of them are smart and 2 of them are really dumb, and one of the smart guy is a hard worker, the other one doesn't do anything. Then the 2 dumb guys, one is very, works a lot, and the other one doesn't do it. You have to restructure your firm. Who do you fire? You have only one choice. Who would you fire?
Ask these guys. Who would you fire?
2 smart guys, 2 dumb guys. One of them working hard, the other one doing nothing.
Definitely the smart guy.
The smart guy
Yes.
who doesn't work.
Matter.
What would you do?
Both the guys that do nothing. Yeah, I know I only have one shot, but
No,
I
you have only
really
one
can't
choice.
stand with
One
people that
choice.
do
One
nothing.
choice.
Probably being smart and not working is even worse than not being smart.
No, you're wrong. The first one, I'm sorry, according to this, this guy told me the story. The one who you should avoid, you should really fire him, pay him to stay home, is the damn guy who works, because that will cause you a lot of problems. And in real terms, if you substitute in an organization a stupid guy that works hard with a smart guy who works, then the result will be 1 to 10. So when you have to control, and that's why I'm not envious of his role, because people are eager to say I'm a CEO, and I think CEO is the worst work you can do in life.
Do you agree?
You have to keep in mind.
Do you agree?
Chairman is the best.
The chairman's the best role. Okay, so what we're going to do, this has been great. We're going to end with all 3 of you saying in one sentence, advice for the entrepreneurs in the audience. In one sentence, Giulio.
Should I start?
If you want.
Try to think about the future, not think about control.
Okay.
Your dream and passion should be the driver of what you do.
I'd probably say, I probably recommend to enjoy your day at work. Have fun while you work.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Grazie. Thank you.